Some theologians make the argument that God needs to be devious so that we will accept him on faith. Now, why we want to do that escapes me. Perfect God doesn't need to create a universe with troublesome human beings, since he's already perfectly content. And even if he did, why would he want to spend eternity surrounded by clueless toadies? If he sought good conversation, you think he would prefer the company of Bertrand Russell to Pat Robertson. In short, the world looks just like it should look if there is no God, with the attributes of the Abrahamic God. Now, true, this doesn't eliminate other gods. It could be a deist God that leaves the universe alone. But we can rule out the Judeo-Christian Islamic God to a high degree of probability. Now, whether or not God exists, it is often said that religion is still beneficial to both individuals and society. It's in the comfort that is supposed to be provided by belief in the afterlife. Now, that claim is misplaced. The idea that you will live forever gives you a false sense of a glorious self that leads to an unhealthy, extreme self-centeredness and narcissism in this life. You can see this in America today, where everything is me, me, me. Furthermore, believing in a divine judgment after death may cause you to live in constant fear that any sin you might commit condemn you to an eternity of suffering in hell. Of course, few Christians in America today doubt they are going straight to heaven when they die. And far more people believe in heaven than believe in hell. On the other hand, knowing that you're not going to live forever restores a true understanding of your finite place in the scheme of things. And believe me, our place is finite. Here we are on this tiny planet with 100 billion other stars, at least, and maybe as many planets or more planets in our galaxy. 100 billion galaxies are out there that are at least within our range, within our light horizon, as it's called. Go beyond our light horizon, where light cannot reach us, in the 13.7 billion years since the universe exploded from the original Big Bang. Beyond that, there are estimated to be so many other galaxies, maybe 10 to the 100 as many as exist in our universe, all from the same Big Bang. And then there may be other universes out there. Current cosmology believes that we're just one of multiple universes. So when you know that, you realize how small we really are, and you have to accept that and learn to live with that. So we learn from that we have to find our own meaning in life. Now, if you don't believe in an afterlife, you can find more meaning and purpose in this world. And you live your life to the fullest. It's the only life you have. Obviously, the world is filled with injustice. If you assume justice will be provided in the next life, you might not take actions to seek it in this life. You might not exercise your own best judgment in matters that will allow yourself to be controlled by others who claim secret authority. Finally, there's no evidence that religious practice has any health benefits that are not already present in any anyone with a healthy lifestyle. Many claims that those claims don't hold up. So the personal benefits of religion are dubious, to say the least. Now let me move on to the role of religion in society. People of faith are commonly treated with great deference in our society. The religious are assumed to be persons of the highest moral standards, exemplars of goodness, kindness, and charity. But why should that be? How does faith qualify anyone for such high esteem? After all, faith is unquestioning belief in the absence of supportive evidence, and even in the light of contrary evidence. How can one expect such a frame of mind to result in any special insight? How can false beliefs be a guide to life with the foundation of a successful society? We're being irresponsible to build a society based on faith. I guess that's what a lot of powers in America would like to see. Many historians and sociologists have denied that there ever was a war between science and religion. Some have claimed that Christianity was even responsible for science. But they've twisted the historical facts. Greece and Rome were well on their way to modern science when Christianity interrupted its development for 1,000 years. Thankfully, the Islamic Empire was able to preserve and expand on scientific teachings, while Christendom was mired in the Dark Ages. But Islam and Christianity were both too inflexible to accommodate the follow the explosion of science. That was hardly a product of religion. The scientific revolution in 18th century Europe happened only after the revolts against church authority in the Renaissance and the Reformation opened up new avenues of thought. I don't deny that many contemporary scientists are religious, although they are not. Only 7% of the members of the National Academy of Sciences, the elite scientific group in the country, believe in a personal God. 7%. Believing scientists have compartmentalized their brains into two sections that don't talk to each other. They leave their critical thinking skills at the door when they go to church on Sunday. Well, unless it's a Unitarian church. I'll be speaking to the Unitarian church next week, so I'll put that on there. On Monday morning, when the scientists, believing scientists, return to the lab, God never enters their equations. The reason for much of the mistrust of science you find in religious circles is the fundamental incompatibility of science and religion. At least evangelicals are honest about it. They understand that they are at war with science. On the other hand, liberal and moderate believers are fooling themselves if they think they can be both religious and scientific without being schizophrenic. Fundamentalists know full well that science and the Bible disagree over the origin of the universe, the evolution of life, and other questions. Since to them the Bible is the truth by definition, science is hope, however. It's shown that the Big Bang need not have been the beginning of space and time, and that the universe could be eternal. It now seems possible and even likely that our universe is just one of an unlimited number of other universes. Reputable scholars have published several plausible scenarios for the natural origin of our universe. While we cannot say exactly how the universe came about, these scenarios, which are completely worked out mathematically and consistent with all existing knowledge, at least prove that divine creation is not required by science. Many theologians and others have claimed that the parameters of physics are so delicately balanced that if there were any slight changes in their values, life would not have been possible. Therefore, they conclude that a creator must have fine-tuned these parameters so that we, in our form of life, evolve. Now, this claim can be refuted on several fronts. The most popular explanation among most physicists and cosmologists is that many universes, I mentioned, these exist, and we just happen to live in the one that's suited for us. However, even if only our universe exists, adequate explanations within existing knowledge can be found for the values of the most crucial parameters. Others can be shown to have ranges that make some form of life probable. For centuries, theologians have argued that the observed order we see around us is evidence for divine design in the universe. However, the universe does not look at all as if it were designed by a perfect, all-powerful, benevolent God. It's too imperfect, too filled with evil and suffering. And as time has gone by, science has provided plausible explanations for the order that we see in the universe. And it's not as much as you think. Most of the universe is actually random motion, and the order that we see is a tiny fraction of the total. One of maybe 100,000 of the total part of motion of particles in the universe. The rest is random. Proponents of intelligent design creationism argue that complex structures require an architect and a builder, and that natural processes cannot generate increasing complexity. But this is wrong. The generation of complex systems from simpler systems can be seen in many physical situations, such as the phase transition, in which water goes naturally from a gas to a liquid to a solid when there's no external energy. That's the natural progress from simplicity to complexity. In the physical and biological worlds, simplicity begets complexity. So the incompatibility between science and religion is real. It would not matter much if it was just an academic dispute between theologians and scientists. Unfortunately, religion seriously hampers science from being put to use for the benefit and either survival of humanity. Darwinian evolution is the foundation of modern biology. Yet in America, our best biological knowledge is not being taught in many, if not most, high schools. This neglect is bound to ultimately have a negative impact on the human health sciences as well as basic biological research. In America, religious groups are being manipulated by corporate interests to work against their own members' best interests in health and economic well-being. They're being used to cast doubt upon well-established scientific findings in important issues, such as overpopulation, pollution, climate change. This would not be happening except for the opposing worldviews of science and religion. In America today, corporate leaders and the politicians they've purchased with their immense wealth are using religion to stifle science. When belief in ancient myths join with other negative forces in our society, they hinder the world from advancing scientifically, economically, and socially at a time when rapid advance in these areas is absolutely essential for the survival of humanity. We now may be only about a generation or two away from the catastrophic problems predicted to result from global warming and pollution and overpopulation. Our children and grandchildren could be faced with flooded coastal areas, severe climatic changes, epidemics caused by overcrowding, and increased starvation for much of humanity. Such disasters would generate worldwide conflict on a scale that is likely to exceed that of the great 20th century wars, possibly with nuclear weapons in the hands of unstable nations and terrorist groups. Now, I understand that human-caused global warming is a very controversial issue, but whatever the truth, whether or not the current warming trend is caused by human activity, surely this finite planet cannot withstand the continuation of humanity's current exponential growth in population and exploitation of natural resources. 10,000 years ago, was a blink of time in the history of life on Earth, there were just 1 million human beings on Earth. 200 years ago, the population was 1 million. Today, there are almost 7 million. The estimate for 2050 is 9 million. There's simply no way that we can sustain this rate of growth. The way of life that we've gotten used to in the last 100, 200 years, based on petroleum and other fossil fuels, has to end. It's not going to be possible for us to continue that way of life. There's simply no way we can sustain this rate of growth.